Andy went to the theater yesterday. It was
Yeah. Like the
it,
real theater, like the stage theater.
yeah, the stage theater.
Nice.
My wife and I like to go. We've had a long history of wanting to go and see some of the
Yeah.
big plays and stuff when we were in Baltimore. It wasn't so easy to do in Jacksonville. They just don't have that big of a theater district or anything like that. But in Charlotte, they've got a great one. We've seen
Yeah.
Hamilton here, Jesus Christ Superstar. We talked about that, like Annie and some of these other ones. Yesterday, our son got my wife for her birthday two tickets to this play called Shucked.
Okay. Is it
Yeah.
oysters?
No, no, like corn
Okay.
shuck.
Okay.
Never heard of it before.
Yeah.
I just read up on a little of it, but had no real understanding going in. And we show up and they're playing. It's a comedy. And it was quite good. But we had people wearing like corn hats, like stalks of corn on their head. And it from the get-go, it was just a riot. And my wife is usually, those Spaceballs, Naked Gun
Yeah.
humor.
Yeah.
She's not really huge on that.
Yeah.
And so some of it was like that, and I was like, oh, she's gonna. By the end of it, she's laughing out loud, and
Awesome.
it was just great. And there's some good political lines in there too, and such, but also like just very basic, like political lines about politicians being shitheads,
Yeah.
type of thing.
Yeah.
And so, but it was quite good. I highly recommend if anybody has seen Shucked, please comment or whatever. I'd love to hear what you thought, but it was excellent, Andy.
I'm glad you guys got to do that. I mean, one little Nebraska Cornhuskers pride in there. That was a great football team when we were growing up. But I'm glad you got to. I love the theater, and I think it's just so fun to see live performance. It really takes a special talent to perform live like that, and it really is a lot of fun. Whether it's a big production or a local theater, and your friends and neighbors, putting on a show for the community. I think it's just really cool. We're big fans. I remember, we've gone to theater a number of times to different shows. I grew up, my mother would take us. We saw Grease, we saw Cats, we saw Jesus Christ Superstar, we saw others, and we've enjoyed keeping that tradition alive. But one time when I was doing that, I got tickets because I saw a show, and I was like, hey, I know this show's name. It's a big name. Let's take the boys and go. Not knowing what the show actually was, and that was Chicago. And if you've never seen Chicago, it's basically burlesque. And so we were in there with our two at that time young boys, and there's women on stage in barely anything, and my wife and I was looking at each other like, oh my gosh, we are the worst parents alive. And so at the intermission, we decided it was best for us to depart and take the L on the tickets. But I think the theater is great. I'm glad you got to go. What a great way to celebrate your wife's birthday. What a great way to spend the weekend day. And Dave, what a great way to spend the first day of a full month. It's Pride Month. Happy Pride Month. We've got Father's Day coming up this month. We've got Loving Day coming up this month. A lot of things to celebrate in the wonderful month of June.
Yeah, I've got freshman orientation at Ole Miss coming up in a couple weeks
Nice.
too, so it's quite good. It's gonna be a fun period of time here, Andy.
Or
So
part of the Father's Day app, part of it all.
that's right, that's right.
Yeah.
So, all right, Andy, let's jump into things. I sent you a couple topics
Yeah.
this week, over the weekend. They were both non-political, but unfortunately, we're going to have a political one. Maybe I'll throw that in at the end.
Wait.
Um, but let's start with this one, Andy. The NBA Finals is fine. We now know the two teams. It's the Indiana Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Oklahoma City's the best team in the league, or was, the second best team in the league, but they're the best remaining team. They had the young, actually, no, I think they had the best record all through they had the best record. Um, they have the youngest team. They have the MVP of the league. It's Oklahoma City, which is not the biggest, you raved about it, but it's not like the biggest basketball historical city. Then you
Yeah.
have Indiana, like where they Larry Bird, the Hoosiers, and all
Yeah.
this other stuff. There's a lot of great basketball tradition in Indiana, but they also haven't really been a state finals team. But I'm struck by like the narratives I've seen throughout these playoffs, and it's actually been for a couple years now. And I wonder like if we're in an information overload period. And let me explain what I'm talking about here. Is, you know, in game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals, Indiana killed the Knicks and went up 3-1. Tyrese Halliburton, their best player, had like 34 points, 15 he had some crazy stat line, a triple double. That means he scored double figures in 3 statistical categories, and he had no turnovers. It was like the first time that's ever happened. After that, everybody was raving. This is one of the top 5 players in the league. He's great. He's wonderful. Blah 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 blah. Game 5, in which the Pacers were awful. They lost bad. Um, Halliburton did not have a great game, and now all of a sudden people are wondering, is he even the top 50 player in the league?
Yeah.
Like, and I think this applies to a lot of our lives. With so much information out there, we are changing the narrative. Like, is it because we have all these podcasts and they have to have something to talk about? We have 24/7 sports. They have to have something to talk about. Is this just is hot take culture ruining our enjoyment of these events?
And I think it's a fair question to ask, and I think it does make for a lot of noise. I mean, there's a bazillion podcasts, some Dave, which honestly are like pretty terrible. Like, there's some athletes that I really like. Listen to their podcasts, and I'm like this is terrible. Like, this is awful. So like people are talking about everything under the sun. You're getting a million takes on every football game, basketball game, everything. And so there is too much information in a sense. Great Duran Duran song, by the way. Too much information. Wonderful band. Not talking about Duran Duran right now. But I think it's where leadership comes in, right? And this is where a coach, a manager, whoever, really has to take ownership of their own narrative and get their players, their team, or whatever outside of sports to understand the vision, the path, the focus, and to help block out the noise. And I'll go to my favorites. I'll go to the Detroit Lions and Dan Campbell. Dave, that's a team that was getting shit on. They had a really rough first season. Their second season, terrible start, 0-6, and you go back and you think of Dan Campbell talking to his team as captured on Hard Knocks, just trust me, guys, believe in me, right? He had a plan, and he kept his team locked in and focused, and they followed the blueprint. Brad Holmes brought in the players, Dan coached the players, the team bought in, and they continue to climb and climb and climb. A lot of ways to tune out during some of that struggle, but leadership makes a difference. Leadership is a skill and it's an art, and there's a lot of people that don't have it. Some coaches have had it and a lot don't. And I think in today's environment, if you've got a coach that's going to try and respond to the narrative, try and counter the story, or second guess themselves, that's trouble, because there's always going to be a breakout player, a breakout game. It's not necessarily indicative of the entire team or where it's going to go. Sometimes players just get hot, especially in basketball. You just get a hot hand, you start sinking every shot. It happens, but you've got to be able to control the narrative and lead your team properly. I really think it comes down to leadership and coaching, Dave.
But what if, so let's use your Detroit Lions example here.
But
Like, Detroit was, what were they, 15-2 last year? Is that what
I think that's right. I think that's right.
yeah. And then they lost, right? And so, like, yes, the narrative is still good about Dan Campbell, but what if they go, let's say 13-4 this year, win their tough division again,
Yeah.
and lose in that first game that they play? The narrative is going to be Dan Campbell's not a good coach.
Yep, yep,
But
and that story's waiting for him because he lost both coordinators, right? So there are people they've predicting that the Lions, now two-time defending North champions, are going to finish fourth in the division. And if you look at their schedule, you're like, wow, they like every game is a beast. Their road schedule is unbelievable. Like the Lions will not go 15-2. And this is again where leadership comes in, and now Dan's got a mission. He's got to find a way to tell the team, look, we're one of the best teams in the NFL. No more cakewalks. We made the top division in the NFL. No easy games. We've got to be locked in every single game. We've got to win the games we should win. We've got to win the games we're not expected to win. We've got to win on the road in the tough games. We've got to win the close games. Prepare them for a lower record. Like, get them ready for it. Let them understand that that's part of where the season's going and where it's going to go. Like, a coach has to be able to build that up as he builds up his players. He talks about, hey, we're stronger this year. We were injured last year. We've got Hutch back. We've got this new talent on the team. You've got to just bring them together to believe. They've got to believe in the vision. And this, regardless of what the Detroit News is saying, they've got to drive their own destiny. And I think a good coach can help a team do that. Now, there's players on the team that can try and change that narrative. They can be disruptors. That's a problem. Just like your wonderful cat is a disruptor. I
I
love
know
it.
the cat is a
I love
disruptor.
it. I love it. But that's really, again, it comes to coaches leaders, like player leaders, right? So where a guy like a Jared Goff or an Aiden Hutchinson and Alex Anzalone need to step up and help us be like, hey, look, lock in. Like, yeah, we lost a game. Get your ass back together and play the next game. It's leadership. It's leadership, and it's a team believing, and that's really important in the story because there's going to be better records. It doesn't mean you're a better team, right? I mean, I think this year's Lions will be a definitely a worse record. I think they're going to be a better team.
But that's a media-driven narrative, right? The media
Yeah,
is driving these
yeah,
stupid narratives.
yeah.
My point is like Dan Campbell isn't a bad coach now
Right.
because of but the media is going to make him seem like, oh, he's not a good coach.
Yep.
And it's just like the Halliburton thing. They have to have something to talk about. And so they're going to now like, oh, now he's not a good, like, is this ruining the enjoyment of the game? Like Dan Campbell, like if they go 13-4, say they go 10-7
Yeah.
and win their division because of the differences you've explained, but now they're all of a sudden, and my cat is freaking killing me here. Um, if they do all that, Dan Campbell's not a bad coach now. He's a really good coach.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just frustrates me when I see some of this stuff, and I'm like, it. I get why they have to have something to talk about, but I don't know. The changing of the pendulum every game to game, it
That's
seems
it.
like.
It's there. I know, hey, I know we got to wrap this segment, but just to use another example, Nick Sirianni, right? Philly,
Yeah.
Philly is a sensitive town, right? I mean, Doug Peterson was out 2 years after winning the Super Bowl, and during this last season, like there were calls to throw Nick Sirianni out. Like the year before, 2 new coordinators, the team did not do as well, fell apart in the playoffs. People were like, "Oh, Sirianni sucks. Sirianni sucks." Comes into this season, just owns the NFL, crushes every team they play, look phenomenal. The city loves Nick Sirianni. The NFL still hates him, but they respect him and give him credit for guiding his team. Then the Super Bowl gets a contract extension. It's just, the fans can be fickle. The media is definitely fickle. Every NFL beat writer needs to talk about, who's in the hot seat, which coach is going to get fired next. And they love to play these games. At some point this season, Dan Campbell's going to be in the, quote unquote hot seat because things aren't going to be as good as they should be. That's again where your owners, where your leaders, and I'll give credit to your owner, Dave, Jerry Jones, positively stands by his coaching staff, right? I mean, he stands by them and he gives them support even when they absolutely blow. And that's part of it. He'll put some fire on them at times, but he'll support them even through the challenges. And it's the ownership, it's the GM, it's the coaches. I know we're talking football, but it applies to all sports. It's leadership. It applies to all organizations. It's leadership. It's vision. It's mutual commitment. It's faith and saying we're not going to get disrupted by all these other distractors. And I'll stop because I know we're over time.
Yeah, that's fascinating to watch. This is I get old. It gets old real quick.
Yeah,
So,
agree, agree.
but all right, Andy. The topic number two. I have a feeling we're going to have a disagreement here. Um, we don't disagree too often, but when we
We
do,
don't. We don't.
it should be interesting. Okay, Andy. When I was growing up, when we were growing up, when you saw a Jeep, like Jeep Wrangler was the car that I wanted the most. Like that was when I graduated, I wanted a Jeep Wrangler. And then you drive in a Jeep Wrangler, remember 80s, 90s, bare bones, right? It's
Yep.
very simple, bare bones, had the cloth top, and when you would drive in it, the wind is wrapping that top and the soft top, I guess is what you would call it. So and I was like, I can't drive in this. This is not enough. So then that continues. I got a Jeep Cherokee, which is what I really that
I
was
remember
my.
that. I remember your forest green Jeep Cherokee. I remember that.
Yeah, my that's exactly right. And so had that great Jeep Cherokee, loved it and all that stuff. But I've seen since then, like the Jeep Wranglers have gone from being a utility somewhat vehicle or a fun off-roading vehicle to now a glitz and glamour type of vehicle. I see Wranglers with like neon colors
Yeah.
on underneath or neon handles and trim and such and so on or just pick a random color. It could be dark blue or light blue or whatever. They put the it's definitely a culture there. And again, when you're in a Wrangler, you used to, you would wave at the other Wrangler drivers as they were going through. And it was a little community. That was good.
Right.
And I'm okay with, I think, that to the point where, Jeeps are not about off-roading anymore. They're about this, more, I guess, costly or elegant type of vehicle. I think I've had my last line where now I see like the rubber duckies in the front of the Jeeps in the windshield. And I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like people, like what are we really doing? So like I'm officially out on all Wrangler type of things here. I think we've gone too far here. Have we gone too far, Andy?
Yeah. So Dave, this is definitely a point of disagreement. So first, there's a story to the Jeep Duck that
I'm sure there is, but it's stupid.
but
Whatever it
so first, you're right. The Jeep was always like a great vehicle. I had, as you recall, in college, I saved up and I bought a used Firebird, and it had the T-tops. It was baby blue, infantry blue.
was
I
great.
I loved it. I loved that vehicle. Traded it in as my wife and I got married, and we bought an SUV, traveled across the country. Lost my beautiful, beautiful Firebird. Loved the Blazer that we bought. It was a great car. Took it all over the world. Loved it. But never again purchased a car that I wanted. Right? It was buying family cars and doing what you got to do as a parent. Right? You need practicality. Right? As I was going through cancer and as I finished up my cancer treatment, I was like, you know what? Like the car, I was driving my wife's old car, a big Chevy Traverse. It was on its like 12th year. I was putting way too much money in. I was like, it's time to replace it. My boys are in college. I'm buying a car for me. This is my treat for not being dead. So I went out and I bought myself a used, beautiful black Jeep Wrangler Sahara with a convertible top. Dave, I fucking love that car even more than I love my Firebird. I feel like I'm back in a military vehicle. Like it's a little bit compact. It's very, like you said, basic. It reminds me of where my ass spent so much time eating dust in the field on deployments, and that gives me a little level of comfort, right? And if you put the top down, I've got the music blasting, I've got my two little dogs in the back seat. I'm like a kid. I could just drive for hours. I love it, right? So the vehicle is still fantastic. Now, Jeep has made them too expensive. They're no longer friendly to your average consumer. They've gone too high. They've got to bring it back down, at least give a better scale for people to be able to enter the Jeep community. That being said, the community is still wonderful. You still get the peace signs, the waves you pass your fellow Jeep. And over the last 5 years, you see ducking, right? Now, it can get a little bit out of control. But this goes back to a story coming out of Canada where a lady had some kind of issue with another lady. She went up to her vehicle, put a little duck on the car with a nice little note to make some peace, right? She ducked her. And from there, it just blew up. Our wonderful, free and independent Canadian neighbors started this tradition, and it's just spread like wildfire. And so now people duck each other all the time. I myself put a limit on it. I'm authorized 7 ducks total because they fit into the compartments in the front of the Jeep, right? And I rotate them out as I get new ducks. Some people have like 50 million of them on their windshield. I don't even know how they keep them in their car because I could not do that. And I keep a batch of ducks, red, white, and blue, speckled stars for America because I love this country in my vehicle so I can duck my fellow Jeep drivers. And it's silly and it's fun and I like it. So, Dave, how do I say screw you and your Jeep hate because it's a wonderful community? It's an amazing vehicle. If you have a chance to ride in one and buy one, it's not as loud as it used to be because it used to be insanely loud. It's not as loud.
Yeah.
And man, it is so much fun. So you come up here, Dave. I'll take you for a ride in mine. Anybody needs an example, come on in. I'll take you around Northern Virginia driving around in mine. Go test drive one, go enjoy one. Buy a used one because they're so much cheaper and just enjoy your time in a Jeep because man, it is like nothing else.
I like the Jeep vehicle. and I would enjoy riding around in your vehicle, Andy.
Anytime, baby.
I
Anytime.
think I am just like I'm over this little subculture of people who have taken something that should be very like what you've described and made it into this like I don't know, egotero, this elitist type of thing, and I'm like,
I don't think it is.
I don't
I
even
don't
want
think
to
it is.
break into it. Like you don't even want to like the I look at it, I'm like, why would I want neon blue handles on my thing? Why so let me just give you a
Customized.
counter example here. I'm driving down the road here and I see a CJ7. Like like this is before
Yeah.
the Wrangler came
Yeah.
out. The CJs like if you want to talk about like bare bones,
Yeah.
this got nothing in it. Like it is, but you would go off-roading with that and bogging and all that other stuff with it. The Wrangler used to do some of that stuff. It's just like you said it. Like they've made Jeeps way too expensive. It's just far too, comfort as opposed to what it's really designed for. If you go back to that original piece, I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
And
So
you can still customize it. You can still take your doors off. You can still do what you want. It's a little fancier because not everybody wants to be in that like completely raw vehicle because they were a little uncomfortable, a little bit loud, beautiful in their own way, but it wasn't everybody's ride. It's much more enjoyable now. And Dave, there's no ego in the Jeep community. It's not a we're better than you thing. It's just a hey, we're a community and we're going to celebrate one another, recognize one another. Maybe some similarities. I'll tell you, there's a lot of people that drive them, a lot of veterans drive them, a lot of folks enjoy them. I think it's a nice community to be a part of. And I don't need their friendship, but I don't mind giving the wave. Hey, fellow Jeep driver. So, I don't think it's the elitist community that you're making it out to be here. I think you're being a little judgmental here on this pride. Where's your love, Dave? It's Pride Month. Where's your love and kindness coming out? Are you starting out the month with hatred and anger?
well, let's transition to a little like a hatred and anger, Andy. So, yeah. So, Andy, this isn't really the podcast where we go too much into like security type of events. We did have a bad situation that happened yesterday in Boulder, Colorado. I haven't seen all the latest reporting, but it seemed like during like a demonstration or a rally of some sort, a pro-Israel rally. An individual came up and set some people on fire, and there were a lot of fire burns and such really bad terrorist type of activity here. And so we had a lot of that happen. We had another like Republican fuck up. I just don't even understand some of this, Andy. Well, two things I want to like. One, we had a representative holding a town hall meeting, made an insensitive comment during the town hall meeting. They were talking about the big, beautiful bill and the what it's going to take away from people, and somebody shouted out, "People are going to die," in reference to people are going to die as because of this bill because we're taking away critical funds and dollars from the people who need it.
Yeah,
And the representative's retort was, "Well, we're all going to die sometime."
yeah,
And look, that's a very insensitive remark. I'm sure it was out of frustration that she's being grilled very much about supporting a bill that again, we talked about this last week. As a representative, you're not there to support the president. You're there to support your constituents. You're not supposed to get in line, which is what I've heard some leaders talk about. Get in line. We all vote together. No, you vote for your constituents, but Andy, I forwarded you something on Blue Sky yesterday because this representative then went online to post an apology.
yeah,
Except it wasn't an apology, Andy.
yeah,
It was more about, I don't know what the fuck it was. I thought it was AI driven. I thought it was a joke. She went on and said, I apologize. I thought people all knew that we would die at some point. And heaven forbid, I didn't want to talk about the Easter, or I'm sorry, the tooth fairy. I'm glad we didn't have to have that uncomfortable conversation. And then she went on and said, but if you want, talk about everlasting life, you can join me at my church and we can talk about Jesus Christ and stuff.
yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, look, we both go to church, Andy. We're both very proud of our faith. Like fucking inappropriate, man. Like this is just unbelievable. But this is just more Russian Republican. I went Russian there. You see how Russian Republican stupidity here. So
Yeah, I mean, look, Dave. There's so much. This is kind of a gross time. There's
yeah.
so much like meanness and anger and division and sarcasm in the name of Christianity happening right now. Look, yeah, you made a very good point that your job as an elected official is not to toe the party line. That is exactly why America hates the two parties because they're ass-sucking bullshitters who focus on their party's agenda versus the interests of those who elected them and the people of these United States. And so when you're a representative and you have a town hall, as you should be having on a regular basis, you douchebags, yeah, you're going to get asked hard questions by those who disagree with your actions. That's the job. If you don't like it, get another fucking job, you assholes. And so I get it. You're frustrated. You say something. You have a chance to address it. Instead, Ms. Ernst, who's senator from Iowa, doubles down, says basically this exactly what you said. Like, we're all going to die. Deal with it. If you're worried about death, come and get to know my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Don't throw Christ and Christianity in the middle of your political nonsense, right? Live your faith, demonstrate your faith. Don't weave it into your nasty politics. It's just gross. The President of the United States posts he's on a mission from God. He loves to talk about what a godly man he is, what a godly man Mike Johnson is, while they're doing things that are just completely contrary to the gospel. You can go to various Bible verses from the Beatitudes to sections of Matthew where Christ is talking about, what you've done to me, what you've done to the others, you've done to me. Like there's great examples of compassion and caring and love and kindness that we're so not executing well today in politics. And we can disagree on politics, but don't weave Christ into all of your political actions like he's part of your marketing scheme. It's just gross. It's just gross. So I mean, we can even talk about the actual issue that she was talking about because she made it about her and her yucky comments and then the faith aspect of it. And it's just fucking gross. It's just fucking gross. The Republican Party, as you said, the Russian Party is just in such a weird place today. It's disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, I like this is somebody who like blatantly is thumbing her nose at her constituents and
Yeah,
said like what you are voicing your concerns about, like I don't care about them
yeah.
and they're silly and stupid and I'm gonna make a joke out of them. This is a very brazen. I don't know what her district is like. I don't know what her any of those things is like, but I'm like. I'd immediately vote this person out of office.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how you can expect her to carry on moving forward with that. I don't
Well,
know.
they get their comfortable positions. They feel
Yeah.
confident they're going to win. And rather than trying to enlarge your support across your community, they're trying to placate the ferocious supporters of that boost them up, right? It's a yucky game. Again, this is two-party politics at its very worst, right? Because all I have to do is cause enough divisiveness so people will support me more than the other team, and I win. Nobody wants to watch two fucking teams in football play. Nobody wants to watch two political parties play because they're gross, right? And they do this kind of activity that really just sickens people, voters, Americans, and it's just creating more and more division. Sole purpose to boost up these individual politicians, to protect their seats, to boost them up for their future ambitions. Get the hell out of here. You're disgusting, right? These 536 national elected officials, the president, 537, the president, the vice president, our senators, our House, like just for the most part, just despicable behavior day in and day out.
Yeah, it's really rough. Andy, the one thing we didn't talk about, like really brazen attack by Ukraine over the weekend,
Yeah, awesome.
like a drone swarm
Yeah,
like deep like we look they've had some offensives into Russia. They've even held territory in Russia
yeah,
for brief periods of time, but over the weekend they launched a drone attack that destroyed, I think it was over 40 different aircraft that were out on runways and such like that. It was a unbelievable attack.
yeah.
This maybe we'll talk about this on Wednesday because this is like entering a critical phase where Trump has said you have 2 weeks, Russia, to figure this out. And of course, wow, let's shelf this for Wednesday. But fascinating, like the footage of it was amazing too. Like to see the footage online. But
With phenomenal. I mean, it was a 2025 Trojan horse. It was amazing. We'll talk about it Wednesday. I mean, I made a couple of comments about it, online. Like, yeah, let's come back on Wednesday and applaud the creativity of the Ukrainian military. A fantastic and really consequential, attack. So, bravo.
yeah, and how like the Trump administration continues to fail on something that they thought they were going to solve in a day. So,
Hey, easy,
um,
easy peasy.
but don't hold him accountable to that, Andy. It's clearly not his
Crazy
fault.
Vladimir. I'm just going to yell something on True Social and fix the problem.
Well, Zelensky's to blame here too. He
Oh,
started this whole thing in the first place.
yeah.
So, all right, Andy. With that, we're going to wrap up Monday, action-packed Monday, and and we didn't focus too much on politics, so that was good.
Well
So,
done. Well done. Well done. Happy June. Glad you enjoyed the theater. Again, a lot to celebrate this month, so we'll enjoy it all.
all right, Andy. With that, we will catch up with you on Wednesday.